Hi, this is Ashley Hilton Jacobs, and you're watching From the Cape with Bass, hosted by Daniel Peterson.
Today we hang with Ashley Hilton Jacobs, bass player, extraordinary bass player, as you can see. Ashley, thank you so much for your time and for allowing us to into your space. Can you tell us about your first musical experience, man?
First musical experience, wow. Playing or when it hit me, or
When it hit you?
you know what? I I went to a jazzathon one year. I think I was about 13. Um, Firstly, my uncle was a DJ, so it's like, always there was music around. My aunt's a singer. They were in the worship team. It was never really something that interested me. But we went to the jazzathon one day, and I saw Musa Manzini play. It's the first time that I ever checked like something live on the production stage, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do, you know. But like I said, it was Musa Manzini. He was playing a 6-string chord A6. I'll never forget it. It was one of the old Arts and Series basses. And it was a 6-string bass, and it hit me like the bass player in our church plays a 4-string bass, and like, how come he doesn't play like that, And it's something it was something that stuck with me that whole day. I think it was the Saturday evening, and I think after he played, it was the year when Adija was here. And I saw the bass player from Adija. It was this big Maori brother with, and it was a groove that just caught me that day. And I got home, and there was a guy, Arthur Peterson, that was in our church from Bala. I'm from Bala. And he then decided he's going to do this little music school at the church, And I went and I joined. My mom bought me I think it was an academy, 4-string precision bass. And then I was like, but this thing has 4 strings, man. Musa had 6, Like, what the heck? But I guess, like, I wanted more, because I learned a little bit, and I learned how to play and a song or whatever, worship song, whatnot. But it was something there was something that was drawing me further, man. And for years I was trying to get into the choir. They kicked me out of the choir because I couldn't sing, and there was already a bass player. So everywhere I tried to work my way in, it's like, just wait there, man, wait there, And I went searching, and I oddly enough, I found different music. I think when I was about 15 or 16, I got to a musica one day, and I heard a Lenny Kravitz album, and changed my whole thinking about music, because I heard distorted guitars, and I saw this very hip black guy, with his long dreadlocks, and he was hip. I went, obviously searched a little bit more, found a little bit more of his albums and stuff, and eventually I would beg my mom for money to buy this Lenny Kravitz albums, which I eventually did, So obviously my music changed from there. Yeah. And since then it's just been like rock artist to rock artist, which was very weird because all my peers was playing jazz and gospel, So I was like the weird kid. Can you imagine any block and balladas? Everybody would be like, is your lighty or right, because I would have these weird hairstyles and I would always wear bell-bottom jeans, and it was just weird. I knew rock and roll was where I wanted to be at. Yeah. So it was difficult for me, first of all, because all my peers are playing jazz and rock and gospel and R&B, and it was something that didn't interest me. I liked the showmanship of musician, of music. So that was always that's what drew me. That was my first experience with music, was actually the showmanship, first of all, of Musa Manzini on his bass, the stuff that he could do, the melodies that he was playing, this understanding of harmony. I mean, I didn't know it then, but obviously getting into him a bit more, and even later I got to meet him. And before he had his operation and stuff, and just the guy's understanding of harmony, and it just was great for me. And then obviously then the showmanship of music, Yeah, that was my first, to put together, that was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life kind of thing.
Okay, Ashley, can you tell us why the bass guitar specifically? I know you mentioned something that you were at the jazzathon now, and so Musa Manzini, great bass player. Wow, I still have his album, that first album.
Yeah, My Reflections.
Yeah, it's a very good album. So why the bass guitar? What drew you to that actually?
Okay, so like I said, like I got into Musa, I heard the Lenny Kravitz album. So before I started like bass. Obviously, I was first. I started playing a bit of drums also in the church, because, like I said, I tried to get in everywhere. I tried to learn a bit and this and that and that, but the bass stuck. The bass stuck. I learned to play guitar, and like I said, I got into Lenny Kravitz, and I wanted that rock sound, and but then later on, what actually solidified it, I heard a band, a rock band called Rage Against the Machine. A guy called Tim Comerford. He was really insane bass player. Like Musa stirred something, but when I saw it being done on the 4-string bass by a rock band, and he had insane grooves, man. He had and when I could learn these things, I knew that was what it was going to be, because I had learned to play the guitar and stuff and all that stuff. But playing stuff from Rage and stuff like that like actually solidified it. That was the bass guitar. And also the fact that I could do on 4 what all these jazz cats and gospel cats were doing on 5 and 6s, you know what I mean? It made it comfortable then. You understand what I mean? I didn't have to be a guitar player that plays in lower strings and lower registers. I was a bassist, I understood what it was to be a bassist. And also just the role of the bass player's job in the band. I think that is something that also caught me in a very early age. I was playing with some bands back in the day where, bass players were trying to be guitar players, and all too good to it, if there's a place for everything, you know what I mean? But for me, it was the bottom end, the groove of actually what happens, how the bass glues the drum kit, the rhythm section, and a chordal section together. That I think was, and Tim Comerford done it perfectly. It was the first time that I heard a 3-piece band where you could actually hear what's going on. You understand? There was nothing muffled. There was nothing. There was bass parts. You understand? And that's when I was like, I want to be a bass player. Yeah, that's why the bass. It's about the parts.
Ash, can you tell me about your musical education? Did you go for lessons after seeing Musa Mancini and Tom Comerford? Did you go for music lessons after that?
I hated school. I hated learning. It was the worst. For me to learn was the worst thing ever. It's the weirdest thing. With education, I learned with Arthur. I learned the basics with Arthur. And because I was searching so much, it was actually very confusing for me. So I learned my chops on stages. Yeah. You understand what I mean? I have a bit of education, but I don't speak of it often because I know where I got my education. Yeah. You understand what I mean? I got my education learning on stages and playing with with DJs, in the white clubs in the city, you know what I mean? All my chummies were like, I was about 18 or 19, and I was gigging with DJs in the club scene. You understand what I mean? It was a DJ and myself, and I was learning to groove there. So that was my education, man. My education was on the streets and in the clubs at night, you know what I mean? And actually learning my chops there. So that was my education. I learned on the street. Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell me about the artists that you're working with? I saw that you're working with Jan Blom. Can you tell us about that and how that came to be, and also the other artists that you're working with? And if you are doing touring, can you tell us about that and how it's going?
Yes, what happened was I was living in the Netherlands for a number of years, and I was touring with cats over there. And, it was... The cool thing was that I learned a lot about being a bass player. What's your job as a musician there? I was always flashy, when I came to the Netherlands. I was actually there with Jitsvinger on my first time over there, 2009. And Jits and them came home, I ended up staying, and then obviously I wanted to do my thing there. And it's the first time somebody told me to play less, So when I came back to South Africa, I was already in this scene of playing with session cats, and you know what I mean? And I came back to South Africa. I was on the scene for a little bit in the Afrikaans scene and did my thing with the rock acts. And then I stopped playing music in 2010. No, I'm lying. 2016, sorry. Or somewhere around there. 15, 16. I was like, that's it, I'm done. I was playing in a band, De Wallen, a rock band, which was pretty big, a big rock band. And I had enough, actually, after about a year. I'd been doing it for 20 odd years. I was tired, I was over it. And I mean, musicians get to that point, And I went and I was running a restaurant in Jeffreys Bay. Coincidentally, I'd I had no more gear. I had no guitars. I'd given it all away. I sold it, and it's like, that's it. I'm done.
Where were you, man? I think I could have done it with some of those guitars.
No, but you know what it is? I blame it on substance, man. You understand what I mean? You get to the point where, I mean, it's not a thing that's common on the colored music scene, for example, on the jazz scene. But for the rockers, you know, you all know what rock and roll injuries do to you. So I was tired. I was just over it, you know. And I went and ran a restaurant, but the music chooses you always. The music never lets you go, and that's the honest thing. Music never lets you go. You can try what you want. Once you have it, you have it. And I got tired a bit of not playing. I opened up a music school just above the restaurant where we were at. And in this time, another friend of mine moved to Jeffreys Bay, whom I then started another band with called Son of Hawk. And within, man, I'm not even going to lie to you, it was like a roller coaster. Within a month, I was out of the restaurant, you know what I mean? Like, I was touring the country again with this really wild rock band and back to our old habits kind of thing, you know? And then during this whole thing, Jan Blom, I checked him in Jeffreys. And it was like, how's it, man? He's like, how's it going? Like, Ashley. It's like, yeah, Jan Blom, you know? Obviously, the scene's small within the rock scene, you know? And Jan's like, hey, man, I need a bassist. Do you want to come and play for me? And I was like, I don't know, bro, you know? But another month later, he phoned again. He said, listen, yeah, are you going to come and play for me, you know? He's like, I'm in the midst of doing the Liefde album. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a big thing, actually. And, you know, you never know which way it's going to go, you know, because now this is a profiled artist who's been at the top of the Afrikaans game for the last 20 years. You know, now I'm getting the call up. And, I mean, I've done gigs with Afrikaans acts and stuff like that, but nothing that was really solid, you know what I mean? Nothing that was really stuck. I mean, I've played with Albert Mankies a few times at that time, and, you know, to name a couple of the other rock cats, you know. And these are all my peers, kind of. And Jan calls, and I'm like, oh, shit, okay. You know? And I'm like, okay. And eventually he asked me to play 3 gigs with him, myself and my drummer that was actually in the band Son of Hawk, Nathan Combrink. We played 3 gigs with him in the Eastern Cape, you know, PE and Utneg and Jeffreys, you know. And he couldn't understand that we were so well rehearsed, because Nathan and I took 2 weeks before and we rehearsed every single song in his catalog, you know. It's like, he couldn't believe that these two surfer donkeys, you know, from Jeffreys Bay are so well rehearsed. And we knew his music better than he did, you know, because he hadn't played with a band for like 3 years before. He was just doing his solo thing, you know. And he asked us then a week or 2 weeks later, he phoned and asked, can we come and are we available to travel to Cape Town to do some shows with him in Cape Town? And it was like theater shows, you know, like the Old Mill Theater, and, you know, and Vita Separon Theater, you know, it's all these like very prestigious theaters. And me and Nathan are like, he's like, oh my gosh, bro, like, look, dude, we're going on the road, you know. It's like, what are we going to do, you know? And first weekend, we made about $5,000. And I looked at Nathan, and Nathan looked at me, and was like, bro, you realize that we just, like, on average got paid R1,000 an hour this weekend. And eventually, at the last gig on the Cape Town tour, he's like, listen, don't you guys want to be my band full time? And I'm just like, Nathan, we're doing this, bro, we're doing this. And Nathan's like, so what about Son of Hawk? And I'm like, dude, we are doing this. I knew and understand. You know, it's like, eventually, Nathan and myself left Son of Hawk because we were then, within the first year, we'd taken 6 awards with Jan Blom, with the Liefde album. All the big Afrikaans awards, the Bokkies, I think it was Kuma Awards. And, you know, so now, for the first time in my own country, I am being exposed to something that I've worked so hard for. And, you know, went overseas. And, I mean, obviously, I also had projects that was pending that had to now all fall away. Like within my life changed within a year. You understand what I mean? I am now being on stages, photographers. Also, I'm a wildcat. I don't know if you saw. You know,
I checked you out.
I'm a showman. I'm all about.
Sorry, I saw you on Facebook. I saw you playing without shoes. Is that a common thing? Okay. Is it a common thing?
Yes. For 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons I don't play with shoes on. First thing is, music is very special to me. It's a sacred place, that stage. You understand what I mean? I really respect what I do. And it's like in the old days as well, if you are walking in sacred space, you take off your shoes. You understand the Japanese mythology, you know, take off your shoes and you walk, you know, and also to feel grounded, because that's what music has always done for me, you know. Music has always grounded me. So it's, for myself, it's a thing, and also my right ear is a little bit messy. Okay. So I use vibration as well for playing and stuff. So there's a few factors why I actually play, but it's a good, well done for checking it out. And it became a funny thing because photographers started, shooting my socks. And socks companies have started giving me socks. So thanks, guys. So it became a thing. It also made me very much aware of the fact that as a musician, you need to be a brand. Yeah. I think a lot of our guys forget that. And I learned this we can't say these things anymore because it's now politically correct, but the white artist in this country is that you must always remember that you are a brand with a band, kind of thing, you know. So being in this band now with Jan, it made me realize this and how important a brand is. When people start to give you stuff, you know, it's weird also, you know, you sort of think, you know, but now fans also come up to you and they give you socks because, you know, hey, check this, I saw this and I thought of you, and, you know, and you're like, what happened to throwing bras, you know, like, hey, I get socks. But anyway, so I don't play with shoes on. Okay. It's weird because when I play guitar in my other bands and stuff I do, but when I'm playing bass it's a different, you know, and also showmanship. I jump around stuff and I try and jump over people's heads and I jump on your table while you're eating and stuff like that. And I mean, it's gonna be now not gonna be like if I put footprints on a venue's tafeldoek, you know what I mean?
So I hope if you jump on somebody's table while playing, I hope you give them the socks like.
No. Socks are expensive, China. Mind you, I have hurt myself a lot. The last couple of years, I've almost broken my back from jumping and falling off stuff. I tore ligaments in my knee last year. I had to play with a knee brace on for 5 months, you know, and it's the worst thing going on tour, and guys have to pick you up out of the bed, you know. But I'll be on stage that night, I can tell you one thing, you know. So, I mean, the showmanship also took its toll on me a bit, and, you know, I did get hurt a lot. But yeah.
So, Ashley, can you tell me about the gear that you're having? I see you have a nice Yamaha bass guitar here. Can you tell us about that and how you got to this beautiful bass? Yeah.
I got to this guy. First, I was very into Fender basses. I played Fender basses exclusively for about the last 4 years. I played P bass. I played a 95 P bass for a long time. It was my go-to bass when I was with Son of Hawk, in the beginning of Jan Blom. Because I've always been a traditional bass sound. I never used to like, it's te veel goede. You know, because I'm so wild and stuff, I needed a bass I can throw around that's durable and stuff like that. So I was playing the Fender basses because, I mean, let's be honest, you can throw that thing and throw it, it's like the Nokia 3310 of, you know, you can throw it from a building, you're going to pick it up, it's going to be in tune. But then in the beginning of the year, last year I got my first active Fender last year. I had the Deluxe 24 fret. It's a 24 fret Deluxe bass. It had Aguilar pickups in them. I'm a big fan of the Aguilar pickups. It was just a really great guitar, and the active sound then started getting to me again, you know. I changed the beginning of the year to Yamaha. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those things that happened. Okay. So now exclusively I am playing Yamaha guitars. This is the Yamaha BB2004, based on the Nathan East signature series. Nathan plays the 5s and the 6s. This is the 4-string that came out in that range with the Nathan East preamp. I might have Aguilars in here. Yeah, no, it's okay. You can leave it in. It's okay. So yeah, this is now my bass of choice. It's a really great bass. Like it does everything that I've had before when I was traveling. Because before I was traveling with the P bass and the jazz bass, and I used to have a Washburn XP that 400. No. Jacko said you don't need more strings, you need more practice. Okay. No, but I was just traveling around with that bass for that active thing. I never had to use it much on stage, which is actually quite sad, but I always had it there. Yeah. The nice thing is this bass has everything built in there. Yeah. Okay, so like I say, it has the preamp in this guitar, the P bass section of this guitar, it sounds like a P bass.
Yeah.
You know, by just switching the preamp, it goes from a traditional P bass to you could think about a deluxe P bass sound because it's that punchy and and the jazz bass is subtle. That's what I like about it. It's got the subtle jazz sound that, I mean, I'm not a big solo player. You know, I'm a groove player. I want to run around. I want to thrash my bass up, and you know what I mean, that kind of thing, which is pretty sad. I mean, but it happens. I mean, you don't see what's on the back of it, but there's marks in the back of it because I'll throw it across the stage and pick it up, and it's in tune. So, it has everything. It has a very punchy P bass, very subtle jazz bass sound, and to move it from modern to traditional sounding is it's a flip of a switch, man. Wow. And it does the job. What it needs to do. I'm currently trying to get another, the black 5-string version. So hopefully soon, Yamaha, bra. Let's go there. And then in terms of amplification, I exclusively I play the best amps in the world. I play the Aguilar Tonehammer 500 head. You know, I tour the country. Last year I spent 7 months on the road with Jan Blom. And that amp sounds better than anything I've ever tried, ever in my life. I've had that amp for about a year. Before that, I played another Aguilar. I played the AG 350. But the thing with the AGs, they were a 9-inch unit. They were big, heavy, and very... 9 out of 10 times, I would never be able to can use it the way I wanted to because, you know, it was just too loud and too heavy. And these Class D Aguilars that came out now, it's great. I pop it in my backpack and I fly. So wherever I come to a venue, I don't care what cab they have. I just plug it straight into their cabs and I got my sound all the time. You know, because I've had a lot of times, and I don't speak down on any other gear. You know, but you get to venues and you know you're playing on different amps. Ampegs or whatever, and you know that your sound's not there. You know, it's funny enough, Carlo Joster one day was at one of the Fender shows, and they had Fender cabs there, and it's funny, there's a photo of me and him on Instagram. Luckily I had my head in the car, and I know that he plays Aguilar too. And I was like, hey, you want to use my head? I've never seen a guy smile so big ever, because I could see him fiddling and trying and whatever, and not getting the sound that he wants, you know. And with this, I get the sound that I want all the time, and I'm so happy with it. So I play Aguilar amps, the Tonehammers. Sometimes I get the 750 on the road. Okay. The 500s are great. And then I've got this thing, which is a Generation 1981 Steinberg with it's the Generation 1 Steinberg tuning system on it. It used to be a fretted bass, was given to me by a friend that came from South Korea, Krijan Leclerc. Thanks, brother. He's in Thailand at the moment. He builds beautiful guitars. But this one was given to me. It was a wreck. The neck was not very good anymore. The pickups was not very well anymore. So what I did with it was I had replaced by a guy, Wouter Botha. He's in Pretoria. Okay. Good friend of mine, one of the greatest guitar engineers. You know, you can take a broomstick to him and it'll come back like a deluxe. Okay. You know, so what I had done was firstly we defretted the guitar. We had a glow in the dark inlay put in just because. And then what I did was I had taken the neck pickup and put it in at the bridge. Okay. Yeah, and all of these are now just for show. So I've just got the volume and I've got a kill switch. And very, very lovely guitar. I mean, I use it. Not that often, but in studio quite a bit. Okay. Yeah, I'll record with it quite a bit, but I'd like to start playing it live a bit more, but I don't get the opportunity to. When it was still fretted, I played it once or twice, and it's amazing. You know, and that's why I decided not to discard it. You know, we had all the paint taken off, and so I decided to not discard it and rather just restore it. And
but it's a beautiful bass.
It's a beautiful, beautiful guitar. One of my friends, Grenville Williams. I don't know if you know Grenville. No. He used to be with Cortesa and with Nine. He's now Jack Barrow's bass player, coincidentally. Okay. He had one of those back in the day as well. And when he found out that I've got this one, he offered me a lot of money. I'm not going to say how much, but he offered me a lot of money in its bad state. And I said no, and I'm so glad I never ever sold it. Sorry, G. So yeah, I might use this I play in another band called with Passon Loopsje and the Violent Free Piece.
Okay.
And his previous bass player, CJ Berg, used to play. It was weird because he's playing blues rock on a fretless, and we always used to laugh at him. Not laugh at him, but we always used to wonder like, why would you go and play a rock gig on a fretless bass? It makes a lot of sense because if you're playing with a guitar player that's playing a lot of slide stuff and stuff, it's good because playing slide, your intonation's not always right, and you can always. I mean, with a fretted bass, it's a little bit more different than to do it with a fretless bass. So that bass is, I think every bass player should have a fretless bass in their arsenal.
There you have it. Ashley, can you give any advice for young up-and-coming bass players and musicians out there, please?
Yes. Don't become a musician. No, I'm just kidding. Practice daily. Give yourself an hour every day. Sit in front of the TV with your guitar. I found in the beginning for myself as well, for training your ear, play with the adverts. That's what I did. I used to play to the adverts. Wow. I never used to have an amp growing up. And like I said, I was always used to say, so I used to play at home with the TV. I can play you everything that came on TV2 back in the day, from Movement to Brakanyan. Because practice every day, 1 hour a day. And remember that you are a brand first. Music is a business. People don't understand that. It took me a long time to understand it. And it's weird because not a lot of people know me, but a lot of people know me because of the way that I do my business in music. I understood this from a very early age, that this is a business. You need to operate it as such. There's no reason for you to struggle as a musician. So yeah, that's remember that you are a brand. Merch, very important. Always have merchandise. So yeah, that's my advice to young players. Always practice, and you don't always have to be right, but always groove in time. You know what I mean? It's something that I checked from something that Victor Wooten did. There's a thing he did with Toman, where he was like, "Are you practicing? Are you practicing notes and all these other cool things that the books tell you, or are you practicing your skill and your feel and your attitude and your guitar?" It's very, very important. And know your role. Bass players, know your role. You are not a guitar player. You are low ender. Know your role. That's the advice that I've got. I mean, I can't give advice because I did everything the wrong way. You understand what I mean? But it was something that worked for me. I mean, everybody must find, every artist and every musician must find their identity. Stop chasing for the same work. I mean, the industry is far and vast. I mean, I only became successful once I started doing that was something that was out of my comfort zone. I can tell you one thing: colored musicians, you are wanted the world over, but be yourself. One of the guys that when I was in the Netherlands, the best advice that I got was think like Jaco but play like yourself.
Okay.
It made a lot of sense because we were all trying to be flashy, we all try to be fast, but you lose your own identity as a musician. So just keep your identity and be real. That's more what it is. I posted something the other day that Miles Davis said. He said if they look too hip, chances are they can't play. It's all about knowing your role, and that's the best advice that I can give to young musicians. Is to
I think I want to start dressing down now. Ashley, thank you so much for your time, brother. Thanks. It's nice meeting you for the first time, and I'm sure this relationship will grow and just grow from strength to strength. Thank you so much, and Godspeed on your journey ahead. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Please share this video with your family and friends. Follow From the Cape with Bass on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much. God bless you.